Welcome to Hancock's VMware Half Hour. And welcome back to another Hancock's VMware Half Hour. So, if you watched the last video, you probably saw that we struggled with migrating some of our VMware vSphere ESX hypervisor VMs to Nutanix AHV. So in this video, I've revisited it. So in this video, migrate your ESXi VMs to Nutanix without breaking a sweat. Yes, join me as I tackle the challenge of migrating my entire ESXi setup to Nutanix AHV Community Edition and see if I can really make it that easy. Okay, so the keen-eyed amongst you will see that I'm at the Nutanix web console, and there's our Danio VM that we migrated in the last video. And you may remember that that was the only VM that we could actually basically migrate. The rest all failed with the carriage return and line feed issue. But since then, gone back to this was really nagging me. And since then, we've been able to migrate Night Scout, which is a Linux VM, and we've actually been able to migrate that Seed DMS VM as well, which was also a Linux VM, which is now running and it's got an IP address, etc., on Nutanix AHV, the Community Edition. And this is what I did. I did actually sort of kind of mention to you that I did a little bit of digging about the carriage return and line feed, and it did seem to be a bit of to and fro between the Nutanix and Veeam and the Veeam plugin about the API and about the invalid character, which made me sort of kind of think that the version of Nutanix that was on, which was quite an old version, 6.8, needed updating. So all I did was I went to LCM. Those of you familiar with VMware vSphere will recognize LCM because we have a lifecycle manager VLCM in VMware. So if I actually basically go to my inventory, you can see now that my cluster is based on the AHV hypervisor 10.0.1 that was updated on the May 29th. We're on AOS version 7.01, FSM 5.1.1, Foundation 5.7.1, Foundation Platform 2.16.1, licensing, etc., etc. So if you're faced with the same error message as what I did previously, then just update your Nutanix cluster. I think the real change here was when we actually basically updated to 6.10. Since then, we've updated to 7.01. Anyway, so if we actually go back to our Veeam backup and replication console, which looks like this, you can clearly see there that we've got a lovely little restore finished, and that actually basically exists in our Nutanix cluster now. But what I'm going to do, I am going to revisit, and I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to restore those other virtual machines that failed to restore before. So they were in my domain controller's local backup. And if I actually basically go to backup disks and I expand our domain controller's local backup job, and we're going to do exactly the same as what we did in the previous video, but this time I believe it's actually going to succeed. I know it's going to succeed because I've been restoring and deleting jobs all morning. But this is really just to come back because I didn't really think that that video was finished properly, in that we had issues, and I just had to go back and revisit it because it's been nagging me. So I'm going to select Epistogramma. I'm going to select Rasbora. I'm going to select... so these are the machines before: Epistogramma Pi-hole, Hotplug Pi-hole, and Raspberry Rasbora. Oh no, what, we'll do another one as well. We'll do Swordtail as well. So I'm now going to click right click, and I'm going to go restore entire VMs to Nutanix AHV. I haven't changed anything else on the Veeam backup and replication setup here, which this is version 12.3. I'm going to go next. 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 I'm just going to change the name of these like I did before. So I'm basically just going to get rid of the pi hole at the end. And I'll do the same with that. I'll just basically get rid of that to Rasbora, followed by next, followed by next, followed by next. I'm not going to power them on afterwards, and I'm going to click finish. And that's all I'm going to do. So as I said to you before, you know, easy peasy lemon squeezy, this really is simple and without breaking your sweat. I'm saying without breaking the sweat because it's incredibly warm here today, although it's raining. It's not a very good bee day, and I'm glad I actually got out on the bees yesterday afternoon before this this weather has come in. So if I actually have a little look at running, and there I've actually basically got some restore jobs. Now remember, if you looked at the last video, they were very quickly just disappearing and basically ended up in a failed state. Now of course we have actually restricted our Veeam worker appliance to 2 jobs, so this is why only 2 jobs are running, and that says disk restore in progress, that says disk restore in progress, and these are just obviously waiting for backup infrastructure resource availability. So the moment that those jobs complete, then these jobs will complete as well. So that's it. All I'm going to do really is wait for the restore to complete, bob to the Nutanix web console, and they'll be there. Simples. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I don't really think there's an awful lot of point speeding this piece up in post because there's no feedback that's actually given to us, as I actually basically mentioned before. So I'm basically just going to bob off, and I'm going to come back when these are complete, and I'm going to show you them actually in the web console. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, I have returned. Okay, I've been making candles. Making candles with beeswax. Okay, so this is looking good. This is looking much better than the last video that we did. I'm looking at I've got no failures in the last 24 hours, and a pistogrammer has been restored, finalizing restore finished. Hotplo, finalizing restore finished. I haven't actually basically looked in the Nutanix console yet. And here we go. Finalize and restore finished. And Swordtail, finalize and restore finished. So we're done with Veeam backup and replication version 12.3. So let me just switch to the Nutanix console. Okay, so this is what the Nutanix console looks like. Okay, lots of green. It would help, wouldn't it, if I actually basically turn that off? There we go. So here's the Nutanix console. AHV 10.01, remember? And as I sort of kind of said to you before, the issue most definitely was the version of Nutanix that we were restoring to. And I think that's the default version that actually ships in CE 2.1. So if you're having this issue with restoring from Veeam backup and replication version 12.3, then check your versions in LCM. There we go. I'll just look at the inventory and just check. More importantly, it's the AOS version. The AOS version that we were on before was 6.something3. I think it's resolved in 6.8. Oh, no, sorry. We are on 6.8, and I think it's resolved in 6.10. But if you're on 7.01, then even better. Okay, so more importantly, let's have a little look at the VMs and have a little look what we got on the list. And here we go. We've got a pistogrammer, we've got Hotplo, we've got Rasbora, and we've got Swordtail. So proof is in the pudding. Obviously, as I said before, there's an awful lot more to migrating to another hypervisor, of course. You may need to change the networking. You may need to add networking. You will need to add the equivalent guest tools. And finally, and a lot of people don't do this, you need to remove all the hidden drivers and phantom devices. That's how to properly do a conversion, and a lot of people actually basically forget that. So if I just basically launch a console, and it normally does that until there we go. There we go. Our epistogrammer Ubuntu virtual machine is booting successfully, and Linux ones, Unix ones are definitely normally the more tricky ones, basically, to get migrated. So that's all really I wanted to show you in this video. I wanted to really come back and put the world to right. Really, it was something that was niggling me, that I said at the time that I actually basically thought that it was a version issue, bug issue. There we go. We have started that successfully. I thought it was a version issue. I mentioned it at the time, that it looked like a bug, and at the time, in looking at the historical notes on it, there was an awful lot of heave-ho between Veeam and Nutanix as to whose problem it was, and clearly it's actually resolved in 6.10 or later. So there you go. Again, Veeam backup replication version 12.3 to the rescue. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. As I said at the beginning, migrate your ESXi VMs to Nutanix without breaking a sweat. Absolutely perfecto. Anyway, if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share. If you don't like it, then give it a thumbs down and don't likey, and tell me why. But anyway, so my name's Andrew Hancock at Hancock's VMware half hour. Join me again for another video where probably we're going to have a little look at Red Hat OpenShift. I almost said something else then. OpenShift. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.